Hi guys, it's Maaike. Today I'm back with a two-part video. One is a tip and the rest is this card. I'm gonna make my own stencil, and I'm starting with a tip. Last week I went to my copy shop and I printed this grid, making grid in Word, I think, or Excel, I can't remember, but it doesn't matter. I printed it and then I copied it on overhead projector sheets. You know, they don't use them. You can also copy this if you have of some other grid paper, but the ones were a bit fat for my liking. Then I cut it to size to fit my stamping platform. And you can cut it to any size to fit any of the stamping tools that you have. I printed my own grid because I didn't want the logo in my transparency, but you know, you can do whatever you want. I cut the acetate to the same size as my stamping tool, stamping area. So wherever I put the paper or wherever I want to position my stamp, I can always align it. And the ones I had before, I still have it somewhere, the Samurai stamp is really small and it's not very metric card size friendly. So by making a really big ones, it doesn't really matter what kind of card you put in. It's square, rectangle, really skinny, really long, because you know the whole stamping base will be covered. So I'm using this paper, grid paper. That's actually for your stamping too, but because I laminated mine, I don't really use them anymore. I'm cutting to size to my card base, and I'm going to use the grid to position my dies. And the dies I'm using are from Lawn Fawn, slide on over set, and I'm using the longest straight channel, I think it is, and you can use the squiggly lines as well, of course, if you want a more whimsical feel. But I'm using the straight ones because I want to make this kind of graphical, geometric, maybe background. And yeah, I still had to separate them. See, I have made one slider card with a small one or two maybe. But I thought, you know, you should really be able to use your dies for other things as well, not just sliders. So I'm using the grid to make first the cutouts at the sides, or the bottom and the top, if you will, and then the square, and I'm positioning it in the middle. And the grid helps me to keep them straight. And once you cut it out, you can really see whether it was straight or not. And then once it's in the middle, I can divide that space into two more channels. I'm gonna call them channels. And then they should be all the same height, or different, or the same spacing apart. And this paper, by the way, is a bit thin, but I thought for a one-time use stencil will be okay. Otherwise you could put it on another bit of paper and make it a little bit stronger. But the grid was most important. And I tried to attach it this way, but then it would make my stencil buckle. So I had to loosen it again. And I like it because it's exactly the same size as my card, and yet I had some leakage. I don't know where that came from. So it's exactly 7 channels, and you could use finger daubers or a mini ink blending tool like I'm doing. And I'm using Distress inks in rainbow colors, and it's Candy Apple, Carved Pumpkin, Mustard Seed, Twisted Citron, Mermaid Lagoon, Blueprint Sketch, and Wilted Violet. And I'm kind of pouncing it on and not rubbing, because I'm really kind of afraid it will tear my stencil. And I do put quite a lot down because I want a nice vibrant effect. And I'm moving over my post-it tape because I don't want to contaminate the color I put down before. And here I'm showing you could also rub your ink pads along. And yeah, I use green blending tool for every key, so I kind of smoosh it off to the side to clean it off a little bit if I'm just used forest moss or something really dark. And this is the Mermaid Lagoon. And here my post-it started to come off because the ink is wet and yeah, it's not very sticky. And this is Blueprint Sketch. And yeah, I got a smudge here and there, but it's okay. I'm gonna distress it later, so I really want, it's kind of weird because I want the nice neatness of the graphic look of the stencil, the precise look, and then I'm gonna distress it. So yeah, see, I have a smudge there, and then the stencil ripped, and then I have a really weird bit on the top that I don't know how that got there, because I thought the paper was this exact same size as my base, but yeah, it wasn't. So in this spray bottle I put water and a drop or two of bleach, and I like to splatter it with a nozzle end and then spray it about. It's a really cheap spray bottle, so it's not very precise, but it works. So I decided to make my card base into a card panel so I could cut off the bits that came underneath the stencil, seepage or leakage, I don't know what that was, but I'm trying to cut off just the slightest amount so you get a really small mat, but still visible, of course. I want there to be a little bit of a frame around these stripes, not cut it all off, but you can see the distress effect that the bleach and water give, and I think that's a nice contrast with the really rigid stripes, so it makes it more whimsical, playful, I don't know, whatever you want. And this is a black card with a stick-it on the back, and I'm running it a few times. My plates are too warped, but I should have cut it out. I think my camera ate up enough footage, I'm sorry about that. I pause in between sometimes to get something, and I don't know, I think every time I pause it eats something of my footage. You're not looking. Yum, 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 yum. So I'm using the edge of my desk to roll the paper and flatten it out again and make it straight. And I was just looking at my stripes because I'm not convinced they're straight anymore on the card panel. But yeah, it's okay. So because these stripes are really horizontal, I decided to attach my thanks on a slant, diagonal, just, you know, for a playful effect, because otherwise it will be all very rigid and very stiff, and yeah, I liked it on an angle more. It's also easier to place it with this wonky die. It's so skinny in points that it just doesn't stay in shape. So, and then I pulled out my glittery enamel dots, and I contemplated using the hearts, but I really like the colors more of the glittery ones. Maybe because they're glittery. I don't know. And there was a little boo-boo, so I covered it. That's what enamel dots are good for. But again, you could use Ranger enamel accents or Nouveau drops or stickles, whatever you have, doesn't really matter. So here's the card, and after this is the other card with the splatter that I made in kind of the same fashion with a different stencil. So thank you for watching, and I will see you again Thursday. Bye.